In 1863, with the passing of the Emancipation Proclamation and in the next few years with the end of the Civil War and the passing of the 13th Amendment, slavery officially ended in the United States. Yet today in 2025, in a way, 77% of Americans are still in slavery. Now, obviously, I know that's a bit of a bold statement and is not person to person. Yet the Bible says the borrower, or someone who has, been borrowed money, is servant or slave to the lender. If we have debt, then by definition you are in servitude or in slavery to someone or something until that debt has been paid. And 77% of Americans have consumer debt, making them technically in servitude or slavery. So, how did we, 77, 3 in 4 Americans, end up here? Is this an okay occurrence, or is this a really big problem, and how do we get out of these chains of slavery? The start of debt began in the Roaring '20s. Truly, the '20s, after the horror of World War I, at least in America, saw a huge spike in consumer demand for new products that were coming out. And that's pretty much the start of American consumerism that we see today. People didn't want to wait to get the newest equipment like radios, appliances. So instead of saving up for them wisely, they put them on credit. Low interest made even people interested in taking loans out to be able to put it in the stock market, because the stock market had a higher rate of return than the interest percentage was for the year. Many of these attributes would cause the crash of 1929 and the Great Depression: over borrowing, bigger consumer spending, overinflated value in the stock market. But sadly, this would not end America's taking on massive consumer debt. Not much debt did happen or occur during the 30s and 40s between the Great Depression and World War II, but again, America returned with fervor after World War II to many things like wanting to buy homes, using the GI Bill for that, or cars. Car loans started being a huge thing in the 1950s because they made everyone think that you had to have a car. And car companies started having entire divisions just dedicated to offering loans for cars. By the 1970s and 80s, we hit a crescendo that continues to this day. Starting in the 70s and 80s, we had credit cards, increased debt products, and higher demand for the newer house, the new car that has led us to today. Today, the American people sit on $14.9 trillion in consumer debt. Student loans have gone hand in hand with the consumer debt in increases, going from $1 trillion in 2014 to $1.8 trillion in 2024. Honestly, I was kind of surprised that the ratio was that small. I thought student loans would be higher than that, but evidently not. Do not underestimate the Americans. We Americans pension for taking on consumer debt, unfortunately. Companies have told us that we will find joy, happiness, and fulfillment in having that new car, that better house, or something else you cannot live without. Before 1920, you had to get loans from friends and family, but now every bank and every bank and their mother sells debt because it's profitable. Debt promises you freedom but leaves you in bondage. Which leads me to my next point, though. The consumer debt situation facing many Americans truly is not good. You probably could have figured that out before I even got to this point. Firstly, it puts you in danger. Whenever you are in debt, you're in danger of being unable to pay for that item or product, and therefore it being repossessed from you or you losing it. Second, it puts emotional stress on you. Not everyone, but many people are stressed by owing money to others and the fear of getting behind on payments. Thirdly, it impacts your relationships. Debt can easily become the first priority over things that really matter to you, like family. And by necessity, debt comes first instead of family and relationships, which is not how it should be. So how do we break free from these chains? You, first of all, must have a shifted mindset. You have to be tired of being in debt, or you won't get out of debt. This is often something lately I need to preach to myself. I don't have a lot of personal debt, but I've taken on a small amount of debt to start a business, and I really should have done that. It goes against my principles, and I have found myself stressed, and it has impacted my relationship with my wife because I took on debt foolishly to try and advance faster. That's another reason people take on debt. They think it will get them somewhere faster, when in reality it really just holds you back from getting to where you want to get to. Another thing, you need to live on less than you make. You need to have margin. You need to have a budget. If you don't have a budget, you need to get a budget to know where your money is going so that you know how much money you have to get out of that debt. Get on a budget. You don't need the brand new things. You don't need to buy brand new things to impress people that you don't even like. So much of this selling is to make like cars and houses and different stuff is to make you look good to other people that you really don't even care about and that don't care about you. Yes, it's nice to have a shiny new car, and someday I'd like to have a newer car, but if the only reason is to show off to people I don't even care, that's foolish. That's putting more value on them than yourself, and you are worth more than going into debt for a car to show off to somebody else. You don't have to have the brand new clothes. You don't have to have the brand new car, and you don't have to have the biggest and best house. Again, I say this going along with that. Get on a budget. Get some accountability. Have some friends and some either some friends. I would really recommend, if you don't go to church, go to church. You'll find some financially wise people there. Hopefully you have some family members that have been wise financially. Ask them for assistance. Ask them to show you how they did it, and ask some of them to keep you accountable if you're meeting your financial goals or if you're slipping up and going back into debt. Some helpful resources, obviously, I'm sure many of you have heard it, but if not, the Ramsey Network is a wonderful place. They have many, many products and books and a ton of helps that really help people get out of debt. That is their whole mission. That is Dave Ramsey's whole mission, because he got into debt. He went into bankruptcy and came out of that, and he hates bankruptcy so much that and cares about people so much that he wants to help every American get out of debt and stay out of debt. So definitely a good start would be the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And there's listen to the Ramsey Show. They have their budgeting app. Every dollar. This isn't a sales pitch for them. I'm not endorsed by them, obviously, but they have some really, really good stuff. And they're one of the very few people in America that are really trying to stand up to the massive, just increasing debt Godzilla that we seem to have today, and are helping people not just, yes, get out of debt, but truly find freedom and balance in their life. Because truly, again, the borrower is servant or slave to the lender. A last little help. Read the book of Proverbs. Even if you're not a spiritual person, read the book of Proverbs. It has a lot of wisdom for relationships, and yes, it has a lot of wisdom on what to do and how to deal with money in a wise way that you will be blessed. Even if you don't believe in the Bible, I would really encourage you, look at Proverbs just from a personal aspect of how it can increase your relationships or make your relationships better, and how it can make your financial situations better, because it has a lot of wisdom. And just try it. Try the things you read in there for like 6 months or a year, and if it doesn't work, if it doesn't help, then so be it. Then leave it alone. But if it does help, keep reading more, and then maybe read a little bit more else. But I hope that helps. Again, and you're not a failure if you're in this. Again, in a way, I'm already here. I have a little medical debt from our second son. I have gone into a little bit of debt for a business that I'm trying to get out of because it went against my principles that I knew better. So just because if you have failed in this area doesn't mean you're a failure and doesn't mean you're stuck. There is a path out. And again, I'll try and link some of those resources down below. Please check them out. We need to be free as an American. I want America. Again, this whole channel is about finding freedom, and we need to be free financially. Thank you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.